with all due respect.
All right.
Awkward silence. I did that on purpose. Were you
I was
waiting
like,
for
is
me
it
to
my
say
turn?
something? Were you waiting for me to say something? Yeah. With all due respect, 17, Josh and Gray edition. I hope you guys enjoyed 16. Thought 16, episode 16 was pretty good. Wherever you catch us, if this is your first one or you're watching them or you've seen others, I really enjoyed our last podcast with Erica on female stuff.
Yeah.
Female athleticism. That was really
Yeah.
good. I've found myself looking back at some of our old and watching some of our other episodes. And I'm talking like we had 2,000 episodes already, but 17 is a pretty good one. And I look back at them and trying to catch little nuggets from some of the things people said or the people we've
Yeah.
interviewed and what we talk about. I go back and watch clips of uh, Erica Hill.
Yeah.
And her weight loss and so many nuggets there. And I've had so many people watch that and tell me like, wow, that really rang true. The hardest thing for me, and today we're going to talk about just the coaching biz. We can talk about online coaching, nutrition, offline, and I guess we can talk about all that and wherever we go. But we want to talk about that as an industry. But we had so many clients watch Erica's and say, man, that really hit home.
Yeah. Same. I had
Just
somebody tell me that
I'm
yesterday.
blown away by how many people were like, wow. Like I had texts from random people I didn't even know watch our episodes.
Same.
And people that I haven't talked to in 2 years, I get a random, they go, that was really good. And that's all they felt comfortable saying. And because most of
And
them were
that's
pretty
cool.
heavy, overweight people.
Yeah.
And I
That's
just like
totally
it. I
fine.
said, hey, man, that's awesome. I'm not trying to I didn't try to like get them as a client or solicit them. I was like, hey, man, I'm really glad that meant something to you. Good
And
for
you know
you.
what? Like that was our whole purpose when we, to kind of bring this all together.
Mhm.
That's our whole purpose of like why we even started our business in the first place and why we even started our podcast is because, I think at the end of the day, the more stories that we can get out and the more people that we can help in some capacity, like that was our goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I just
No
always
matter if
felt, I
there's
remember
5
telling
people
you,
watching or 500.
it's like, man, I just got some things to say.
Yeah, we always
Right.
do.
I just got
We
some
don't
things to
shut
say.
up.
Yeah. I got some things to say. I got to get off my chest. Right.
Yeah.
And ultimately, and this is a great segue into this industry, I have a friend of mine, Jason Brunson owns it's called The Arena now. It was a business that I was involved in, Athletes Arena, and it's called The Arena. It's more of a boutique style fitness place now. And he said he talks about big box fitness gyms and big box things, and he's got a private, very intimate boutique type fitness setting. Still trains athletes, but that was my former business that I brought him as a partner, and we worked together. And then 2015, I left it, and he's still flourishing. And he said, when it comes down to the fitness industry, he said, I really think empathy wins at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And because he's just talking about big chain franchises and big chain weight loss centers that are going to stop and like going down, right? We can talk about that and like, these big box fitness centers going out of business, and ultimately relationships, connections, and empathy wins in the end.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, Jason, that's so true. It's amazing what can happen in any business when people feel like you genuinely care about them.
100%. And like this industry is I think, one of the easiest ones to start in because there's not a lot required of you. Like from a job perspective, you can get hired at a gym with basically no kind of training. So it's really easy again to start in. It's also one that can be really easy to profit on because you're selling somebody healthy. And you can ask 10 people and 9 of them are going to say, I'd love to spend money to get healthy. And a lot of them would pay a lot of money to do so.
I think also too, there are a lot of people that they will benefit off of people's desperation.
Oh yeah.
And man, you could sell somebody. I mean, the things people get sold in this industry
Oh yeah.
is pretty shocking, right? I
What?
mean,
Hmm.
the history of this industry, we've been sold funny things.
Exactly. Well, and I think, we talk about this all the time. There's always going to be some kind of new science or trend or whatever that's going to come out. And it's the whole idea behind create a problem, sell a solution, create a problem, sell a solution. You have
Boy,
a deficiency, here's the solution.
if we haven't been sold a solution by the people that that caused the
Create the
problem
problems.
since
Yeah.
2020, then you feel free to go back to sleep and go to bed. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you don't think that the people selling you the pill are the same ones selling you the poison in our world, then I don't know how
I
to
don't know
help
what
you.
to tell you. I
I don't
know.
know what to tell you. Right. With all due respect, I
I
don't
don't know
know
what
what to
to tell
tell you.
you.
Right.
Yeah.
If your eyes don't see that now, God, that podcast that we listen to with Kaylee Means, and like I try to look at so many, is Casey and
Callie and Casey. Yeah.
Casey Means. Um, I remember we were in a text and we shared that with Mike for the first time. And Mike was kind of skeptic. He's like, "Well, what did you see in that?" Because he didn't really know who they were. And then he
Yeah.
watched it. He's like, "Sold."
Yeah.
Right. And,
And I just
right.
started the audiobook and
Did
I'm
you? Oh,
hooked.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
hooked.
And
And
I recently was read something that said, the biggest, the best way to debate against a topic is to build that topic up to be as strong as possible and then come up with ways to defeat
right.
right. Like
Exactly.
it's
Mhm.
easy to destroy a weak argument,
Oh
but
yeah.
build an argument up to be as strong as possible.
Hmm.
And then if you can pick parts of that away, then you really have a strong argument. Like you really have a strong case, right? And I tried to do that when I watched that interview.
Same.
I
Yep.
tried to be like, I'm a cynic, right? We all know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Super cynical,
Yeah.
super skeptical. I try not to have sarcasm because I hate sarcasm when it's given to me, but I try not to be sarcastic. But in this industry, and I watched that video and I was like, all right, what can I like pick up? What is this sensationalism? It's a highly influential political figure doing the interview. Are we going to make this lean a certain way? I don't want this to be a political conversation. I want it to be a health conversation.
Correct.
Like, am I going to pick that apart? Am I going to feel like I'm going to be sold something? And I never did. I never did through that. Um, and I was watching that. I was like, man, this industry is so hard because there's so much misinformation for people. Um, it's so hard to weed through the ideology
Yeah.
because when you get online and you talk to health coaches, um, and I've always said, I said, me and you are doing the two things that the world doesn't need any more of. We're coaching people online and we're starting a
We're
podcast.
starting a podcast. Yep. I
Right.
know.
Right. I have become the person I dislike. Right. But uh I I go through social media and I look at health coaches. There's people I follow and like, I can follow somebody and agree with a few things they say and then not agree with some of the things they say. But overall, there's a net positive, right?
Right.
Overall, some people like Andrew Huberman, overall, it's net positive.
Hmm.
For the negative, there's more positive. It's net positive, right?
Right.
Don't bash the guy for one thing online that he said that you didn't like, right? But you get online, you look at all these health in the industry, you look at health coaches, you look at the people that you see, and you're like, man, they've all clung to some sort of ideology or some sort of sales pitch. No wonder people are so confused,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But that's because, again, like there's no formal training in what we do. Like we are we're kind of in the middle sometimes of like somebody like a physical therapist that goes to school for physical therapy
Mhm,
or a registered dietitian that also goes to
mhm.
school to become a registered dietitian. So there's like some nuance sometimes and it is tough and it's really hard for the average consumer to try to navigate through all of the bullshit out there. you
And if
know?
you are out there and you're like, I've thought about hiring somebody, I want somebody to help coach me, right? Um, create a relationship with somebody that you get along with,
Yep.
that you can trust. Um, obviously do your background, look at who they are, who they've worked with, what they've done, but get with somebody that you trust.
Mhm.
Because ultimately I want my clients to know that I have their best interest.
Mhm.
I am going to hold you accountable, right?
100%.
I'm going to cheer you on. I'm going to let you decide what your goals want to be. I'm going to help you coach through those goals, but tell you when you're not going to reach those goals. But
Mhm.
ultimately, I'm going to help you manage through the junk,
Mhm.
because I do have clients that will come to me and be like, "Oh, I saw this online. What do you think?" Okay, well,
Yeah,
let's think about it,
definitely. And I
right?
think that's so important. And I was going to add kind of that same idea is like you and I are in such like an aggressive pursuit of learning, constantly. We're constantly trying to learn any kind of new information that has come out. Our group chats with Mike, or even
Yeah,
just between the two of us, there's so many links to like this health article and that science article and this podcast. And I think that just is something, kind of toot our own horn, or any other coach that feels the same way. If your coach is constantly learning, that's going to already set them apart
I think
with
also
working with
too,
them.
there are so many things I used to think were true that weren't true, that I don't believe are
Oh,
true
same.
anymore.
Hmm.
And two of the things that I used to think that on paper look right, I used to think back in the day, I thought about this today, this morning. I said, everything I've learned about weight loss and muscle preservation has been from doing some sort of bodybuilding type nutrition.
Hmm.
Because what's the goal of anybody that works in the fitness, that wants to be a fitness competitor? They want to burn as much fat as they can
Yeah.
and have as much muscle as they can.
Yeah.
I think that just described like 99% of people what they really want to do, right? But
Right.
um,
Right.
but I used to think back in the day that fasted cardio was better.
I did
I
too.
I would I would go I would go to my grave with, well, your blood sugar's low,
Hmm.
so you don't have to burn through blood sugar before you get into a fat burning state. I don't see why that doesn't make sense. It does make sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's been proven that it's not, right?
Right.
True. And being able to have a coach who can change their view. Man, how I coach people now is so different than how I coach people in the
So
beginning,
different. So different.
right?
And I haven't been in it as nearly as long as you have, but still, same idea behind like there are old trends I used to believe that I would totally debunk now,
Hmm.
because it's been proven with whatever research. But
Yeah.
again, like that's important is we're constantly like learning, growing with our clients so that we can be the best for our clients.
I used to think eating late at night was more likely to have like be bet worse for you, like eating high calories right before you go to bed. Now I don't eat high calories before I go to bed because I want to improve my sleep. Like I give myself
Right.
2 hours, two
Never
hours.
cared about my sleep before 2020. Didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never thought. I was one of those people, honestly, before I read or I saw oh my gosh, I can't remember the sleep science guy. I saw him on a podcast and it blew my mind. I want to say this is probably 2017, 2018. Um, I'll look him up. Um, he wrote The Study of Sleep. It wasn't until I watched that I was like, man, maybe I'm just somebody that doesn't need a lot of sleep, right? How many
Yeah.
times you heard that, people?
I,
Oh, I just don't need that much sleep.
me,
Yeah, I just don't need
me,
that much sleep.
literally.
Oh,
I
I
can get
just,
5 or 6 hours.
yeah,
I'm
if I'm
fine.
good. I'm different. I'm made different. I can get. And then I started watching that podcast, and I still have the notes in my phone from watching it, and I go, wow, I feel like he's talking straight to me,
Hmm.
right? And it wasn't until after that podcast I started making serious changes to sleep, and everything just got better.
Mm, everything. And
Everything
now
just got
I'll get
better.
less than like 7 hours and I'll be like,
Ooh,
I can't do it.
I only
I
gonna make
can't
through
do
the
it.
day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, and you know, I don't know, I guess the things I do and the way I used to do things always change. I think as a coach, it's very important. I think that's the problem when people um engage their brand to some sort of ideology.
Hmm.
Like 4 or 5 years ago, if I saw one more person online call themselves the keto weight loss coach,
Oh my
I was going to
God.
blow my brains out. Right.
Right.
I was literally just going to blow my brains out. Um, and I just got so because now like, well, how do you transition that when research starts to come out that like maybe that's not the best way,
Yeah.
right?
Where do you go
Where
next?
do you go? And I've always pushed ideology away in my personal life
Hmm. Same.
because you'll hear people say like, say you read a book and that book is about um like Jim Windler wrote 531 program, a famous strength and
Hmm.
conditioning program, right?
Hmm.
And you'll read that book and you'll talk about it. And then some people will be like, oh yeah, but you're a Windler guy. It's like, well, I'm not anybody guy.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
anybody
not
guy,
at all.
right?
Yeah.
I don't care whether it's sociology, politics, fitness, nutrition, whatever. Don't ever peg me as the guru, the guy. I'm, oh, well, you just say, like, I had a client one time be like, are you one of those people that believe in the high protein diet?
We're like,
I'm
what?
like, I believe that protein plays an essential role in muscle preservation, weight loss, your mood, your sleep.
Hmm.
I don't know if that means I'm the high protein guy, right?
Right. I believe in, whatever is proven to be true. This is
Yeah.
what I always say, though. I always tell people, I'm like, I exist so freaking strongly in the gray area. I love to exist in the gray area. I love to play devil's advocate because you can go online and you can find research that's going to support pretty much any claim, right? Like
Do you really
pretty
think
much
that though? Do you think that? Do you think
just
research is
about
that skewed? Yeah,
100%.
I've thought about that recently too. And I often wonder, is that, I guess maybe I haven't looked enough into it,
Unless
right?
something is like so exact, which to me is a minuscule amount of things, you are not going to find research that wouldn't support it. Like most of us know that the sky is blue, but somebody's going to be out there like, well,
Oh,
the sky turns purple at night,
yeah,
or it's black at night. Like there's going to be
there's
so much
that,
conflicting research.
there's that asshole
So
in every room in there.
exactly. So like I like to exist so strongly in the gray area because people have different routes to success. And you
Mhm.
have to be able to like your job as a coach, your responsibility as a coach is to find the route that can most fit into their life, right? While still being like true to your values and your standards.
That's why you got in the very beginning of coaching somebody, you got to have like some investigation phone calls,
Hmm.
right? You got to have some conversations like, what do you do for a living? Right?
Hmm.
Ooh, what are you drinking? Celsius? Mm,
Like crack. I don't
yeah,
need to be drinking this,
it's a
but
lot better than those
it's
bangs you used to
Friday.
smoke.
I'm feeling silly.
Is
No, Celsius makes me feel the craziest, but
Does it
whatever.
really? Remember we
Yeah.
used to get together and do those videos at first, and I'd buy you like one of those Skittles bangs. And
Yeah.
I'm like, holy crap, I can't think of anything more poisonous to put in my body
Whatever.
than drinking those bangs, man. I might
But
as well put
they
it,
have
I
CoQ10.
might as well put it, yeah, right. Might as well put it in powdered form and just snort it right down.
Uh,
But uh one of the yeah, if you got to have phone calls with people where what do you do for a living?
uh-huh.
What's your history with dieting and weight loss?
Yeah.
Right? Um, do you work out? What's it like in your family? What's your schedule? What's your routine? Like you got to start finding people who they are, what they do, what their makeup is. If you don't have that with clients to really intimately get to know where they're at, that's the difference between setting somebody up for success and then throwing something cookie cutter, right?
100%. I
That's the
like,
difference between telling somebody, hey, we're going to start with a high protein breakfast
mhm,
and 4 bottles of water today
mhm. Yeah.
versus, hey, you're ready to track calories,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I, you know, I feel like I'm probably different than a lot of people or a lot of coaches, and you would be the same way, but I have invited my clients in on a very personal level. You know, a lot of my clients would tell you that I am not only their coach, but their full-time therapist.
Mhm.
And so I'm obviously not licensed in therapy or anything like that. But like, again, another responsibility that you have as a coach is to figure out people's patterns and why they are the way that they are. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of research, a lot of energy to be able to identify those patterns. So, like, we talk about it all the time. Somebody's current nutrition habits that they have now, those are habits that started when they were 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
Mhm. Well,
Or
you heard
maybe it
Erica
was
say it,
learned.
right?
Yeah.
Remember Erica said that she was afraid to start her fitness journey,
Hmm.
her health and wellness journey, because so much of her, dude, this is the one that hit home for most people.
Hmm.
So much of her joy was found in food
Hmm.
that if they took away all those good foods, where would she find her joy from?
Yeah, that
And I
hurts.
have multiple people, more than 5, that heard that from her and texted me and said that hit home.
Hmm.
And um that does not hit home for me at
Yeah.
all, right? It does
Hmm.
not hit home. I don't have joy in food, right? I don't. I saw a podcast with a nutritionist, and the guy goes, "Hey, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'll do this with you right now." And I said, "Gray," and just give me your honest response. I said, "Gray,
Okay.
do you like food?"
Yes.
Okay, you like food. There are some people who say, "Do you like food?" They go, "Ooh, oh, love it." Like,
Right.
I can't wait. I'm either thinking about what I'm cooking, what I'm eating, what restaurant we're going to go out to, what I'm going to make the family tonight, like what foods I'm going to do. I didn't grow up in that.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess that's telling. I didn't grow up in
Yeah.
it.
But again, that
I
you look
don't
at your
care.
habits now.
I have no, if somebody looked at me like, do you like food? I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I got to live.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Right.
Like, do you like water? It's like, well, I don't crave water, but I mean, if I don't drink it, I feel pretty crappy.
Mm.
Like, if I don't eat, I feel pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Right? But there are people out there when you're like, do you like food? They're like, oh,
It's my favorite thing in the world.
mhm,
Yeah, but it's true. It's like, again, it's our responsibility when creating this like positive space for people. It's our responsibility to dive into that and figure
mhm,
out their habits and why they're wired that way and the patterns that you see. Like, that's why we keep the consistency calendars. I want to see your pattern every week. I want to see if Monday is really easy, Tuesday is really easy, Wednesday is like a really hard day. Like, everybody has a pattern, you know?
mhm,
So it's absolutely my responsibility to dive into that and to also let you know that like your current habit is not necessarily, I mean, it could be wrong. You could say it's wrong, but it's not necessarily your fault because you didn't know, if that makes sense. You have
mm,
the power to change it, but if it's something that you learned and you grew into and you didn't know that it was not the right way, it's not really your fault. So
mm.
how do we change that? You know, how
But
do
it is their
we
responsibility, right? Like,
but that's two different words, right? It's
okay,
absolutely your responsibility to change it, but it may not be your fault that you've come into that space, right? Does that make sense?
yeah,
Because I don't
that
want to
does make
let
sense.
people
That does
off
make
too
sense. Yeah.
easily because it is their responsibility. Just
Mhm,
like with anything, it's your responsibility to learn, grow, and do. But what you've learned in the past, what you were taught, you didn't know right from wrong.
mhm.
You learned something and that became a part of your life.
Man, I have clients, and people I know, or people, man, I have a small clientele, but then I have this larger group of people that talk to me about all the time about, like, there's
Yeah.
this larger group of people that always hit me up, right, and
Yeah.
ask questions. They're friends of mine, guys I've known. I got a friend of
Yeah.
mine that's down 40 pounds that I went to high school with,
Hmm.
and like he'll hit me up once in a while, just give him little tips. Hey man, just do
Yeah.
this. Like one day he's like, "How many calories should I eat?"
Yeah.
And I graduated with this dude, and I'm like, 2,600. About. Then he hit me back like 3 weeks later. He's like, "Man, down 7 pounds, doing 2,600 a day."
A man.
I'm like, dude, I think it's pretty awesome. And I'm like,
Hmm.
what are my clients? Why is that so hard for someone? It's like I just
Yeah.
said I said one line to this guy, right?
Yeah.
Um, one of the guys that always shares and tags me and stuff, his name's Scott Massey.
Hmm.
Um, he's, I want to say he's got middle 50s, middle late, I don't know, middle late 50s, but like he got shredded. Do you know that like we had a phone call as friends and I laid out what a plan looks like for him?
Mm-hmm.
And one day, 6 months later, he posted a before and after. And he goes, 6 months in of doing exactly what you said. Never paid me a dime.
But that's the thing.
And
It's
he
like
got shredded.
wired
Now,
different,
Citadel grad, military, highly
wired
structured,
different.
wired
Yep.
different, made
Yep.
different, routine guy, very high intelligence, very high integrating, very highly integrated dude.
Yeah.
And I gave him the plan. He did it. And I remember seeing it for 6 months. I went, holy shit. And I
Yeah.
texted him, like, what did you, dude? He goes, I took notes when
Exactly what you
I
said.
was talking to him while I was driving, his friends catching up. And he's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
And it blew my mind.
That's like, I mean, I think one could probably argue sometimes, or a lot of the time, it's a difference between taking on a male client versus a female client. A male doesn't have as many like emotions as they think about through the process,
Do
whereas
you
a
think women are more
female,
emotionally connected to food and weight loss than family?
not as much food. I think it could be argued either way with food, but with with joy in the process. A man doesn't really need joy in the process,
Of food?
you know? Yeah, they're just
Ooh, that's
like
a hard generalization.
I'm just saying joy overall. A woman has to see joy through the process for it to stick, I think.
I think that that is,
For a lot of people, not
yeah, okay,
always.
yeah, no, yeah. And
I
I
have
don't
a
think
girl
it,
that just signed on with me and I've told her what to do and she's banging it out and there's like no questions asked, you know?
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
a lot of the time, the difference between me taking on a man versus a woman is I tell the man what to do and the man's like, okay, cool, got it. And the woman's like, it's a struggle. It's a struggle a lot of the time.
Biology,
Could be,
sociology,
could be.
stigma,
Emotion, could
stigma.
be, could be.
We
Absolutely.
were we were talking
Society, could
earlier.
be.
We were talking earlier. Um, for those who don't know, I teach in a high school setting of a wellness class, and we talked about the 10 most pressing health issues facing teens today.
Mhm.
And I was really proud of this girl that said, I was like, wow, listen, our teenagers are more self-aware than you think. Let me tell you that right
Oh,
now.
yeah. Oh,
They
yeah.
are. Some people are like, nah, stupid kids, teenager, man, social media. And then you talk to them and you get them on the level, you're like, oh, they got you guys figured out.
Mhm.
They pet like,
They're
we
not
think they're
stupid.
dumb. They're not.
They're not
They got it
stupid.
pegged, right? And one of the 10 pressing issues was social media.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I'm not gonna let you off the hook. What do you guys mean?
Hmm.
Well, social media addiction. They admitted like they'll get on the phone, scroll, boom, all of a sudden there's like hours wasted, right? They're like, one girl said, I feel busy, like I'm doing something on social media, and then it's 1 hour later of scrolling. I got nothing done, but I felt busy and my and my anxiety's high. And I'm like, wow, right? That's so true.
It's
Well, I said,
crazy.
I asked one girl, what do you mean social media? She's like, she goes, I think it definitely negatively affects how I feel about myself and my body image.
Okay, so then that's
This
the
was a
difference.
17-year-old girl. And I'm
But
like, I
that's the
want to give her
thing.
a hug.
That's the thing. Remember, we talked about, and I think this is when we had Olivia on, females have been the most attacked with health, nutrition, and fitness. And that's where I think the difference lies is that men will not get on social media majority of the time and feel the same way. Women will get on social media and see this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden it's like, I'm depressed.
The
Does that
girl
make
said,
sense?
yes, it does. It makes sense. The girl said, I see images of what people say females and girls should look like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not
Mm-hmm.
me. I mean,
Right.
this was like I was like, well, we're getting heavy today in wellness class, right? She's like, that's just not me.
But,
And
and
I
you
think
know what?
it affects how I feel about myself and self-image.
It's been the same since magazines started. It's been
Oh,
the
sure.
same. There's
Oh,
been no change.
who was the it was the famous CK1 model, Kate Moss.
Mm-hmm.
Kate Moss. Dude, Kate Moss looked like a super anorexic 12-year-old boy
Mm-hmm.
on the cover of a magazine.
Yeah.
right? That heroin shit, and you're like, wow, is that what a girl's supposed to look like? That dude's like 102 pounds. She's like 5'10".
But that's the difference.
Right.
So let me ask you a question, because this is what this podcast is about. How do you change that culture for your class? How do you change that culture for your clients? Like what do we do collectively to remind kids and clients that that is not the standard? How do we change the culture?
Get off social media.
Well, yeah, but nobody's going to do that.
Right.
What do you do personally?
What do I do for myself?
No, like just when
Oh
you
no, I was gonna say
teach.
that's a whole different, that's,
Sorry.
yeah,
When
yeah,
you teach and coach, what do you do
yeah.
for yourself? Like for
I
for your
want them to
kids?
first become aware that I want them to first become aware that that is not the standard, that is not real life, that is not the life you're living in, and
Hmm.
that you're being sold a lie.
Yeah,
First,
definitely.
become aware.
Yeah. And talk about it.
Yeah,
Talk about it.
I thought about this just now. The negatives of looking, if somebody walked up to a girl and was like, "You're fat,"
Mhm.
and then somebody walked up to a boy and said, or a man, female, male, and said, "You're fat." Those are totally way too different responses you're going to get,
And depending on who it comes from.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could be a middle of the pack girl or middle of the pack boy and somebody you know and was like, nah, you're fat. I bet
And
there's some dudes that'll be like, all
okay.
right.
Yeah. But that sticks with a female forever. I can still tell you what guys in high school, guys in college told me about myself. Oh,
No, can you
yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not that like,
Were you
I
ever
mean,
called
at the,
fat?
no, I mean, I probably was in college behind my back, but like, not to my face. But no, there's been things that especially boys will say to you, and it creates like a paranoia about yourself. You know, it's different when a female says it to you. Because if a girl was to tell me something, I'd be like, please,
I
bitch.
had a client one time say, I don't think it was a client, might have been a friend that one time said that she was talking to a guy, they talked about dating, they talked about hanging out, and they were just friends at the time. And his exact comment was, I don't know, I've never really dated a bigger girl.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Like that
like,
kind of,
I'm
sometimes
like,
boys are just so unaware.
no, but this was like a girl in her 20s.
I know, but men are just so dumb
You're like, yeah, I've just never
sometimes.
dated a bigger girl though. And I'm like, he said that without questioning the repercussions of getting punched in the mouth?
Yeah, just unaware. Unaware.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
But
say that to somebody?
I don't know. I don't know. But
Or
no.
not, or not be a dude that understands that like that's a sensitive, that's a sensitive subject.
Yeah. It is. And it just like it just sticks with a woman a lot longer. And I want to read this text that my client sent me this morning because her one of her biggest struggles is like and I'll say this for I think most of our clients that are between like 45 and 65 that they look back and I could even argue that for people that are younger,
Hmm.
but that they look back on the time that they were 25 like man, I wish I could get that body back. But
Mm.
this is what my client said earlier because I thought this was really powerful. And we've been working together now since April. And she said, I've spent my life trying to make myself smaller in a lot of ways. And when I'm able to tap into my authentic me, it feels light but expansive. I'm big and full of love. It feels good. The shrinking to fit in or not stand out or be something that I think someone or society says is right feels tight and heavy and awful. So
Mm.
being me feels right and it feels really wonderful. I just have to get used to listening and softening into the changes. And I just thought that was so powerful because a big argument I try to tell my clients all the time is if your body takes a little bit longer to lose weight and it might stay the same, but you are healing mentally and physically, that is worth it. That is more worth it than anything. Like, I would so much rather it take us a year to lose 10 pounds and you feel mentally lighter and spiritually healthy, physically healthy, than you lose 50 pounds and you are miserable.
And gain it all back. Hate life.
Exactly. But that's the thing is like, that is how I feel like I changed my client culture is like, I just constantly remind them it's a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture. It's a bigger picture. And when you stop focusing so much on just losing weight, so much other, like just an abundance of other things will come
I
in.
think straight weight loss clients are the easiest ones. The ones that are all in on weight loss. Here's what we're doing.
Well,
We're putting together a
yeah,
workout plan. You're being consistent. You're putting together a macronutrient plan, and all I'm doing is cheering you on through the way.
of course. Of
Right?
course, that's the easier
That is
client.
the body comp dudes who already work. Listen, the 28-year-old guy that comes to you and is like, I just kind of want to get a little bigger, stronger, change my body, get shredded a little bit, and he already worked out
Yeah.
and already understands what it's like. It's a numbers game.
Yeah.
We're just running it. That's the easiest coaching in the world. That's the
No, it is.
easiest coaching in the world. That
And I
is
think
so easy.
a lot of people, when they get into this industry, that's what they expect all the time. They're like, why
Yep.
wouldn't people want to get healthy? But
Yep.
I will argue that 98% of my clients are not straight black and white. 98% of my clients are all the colors of the rainbow, and we work on everything.
If somebody came to me and was
Everything.
like, "Hey, I'm gonna give you $50,000," I'm like, "All right,"
For
and
what?
you have to gain, yeah, for what? I mean, I'd probably just say okay right there because it's probably not much I
Yeah,
want to do 50 grand. But
right.
uh, and like you need to gain 10 pounds in a month. I'd be like, okay,
Hmm.
easy. I'll start now. Easy, 50 grand. Or if they came to me and was like, hey, I want you to lose 10 pounds in a month, I'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's no
Bought it.
emotion to it at
Yeah.
all for me. It's
Yeah.
just a math game.
Yeah. Well, for
It's a
you now,
math
and
game
I
for
feel
me.
the same way now too. Like
Yeah.
that's easy. But
Yeah. Cake.
before it wasn't so easy.
Yeah.
Before when I wanted to lose weight, desperately wanted to lose weight, that would have been like a triggering thing for me,
Yeah.
you know?
You would have probably gone so unhealthy, right?
So
You
unhealthy.
would
Do you know
calorie
how I started
restrict.
working out? Like I became vegetarian. I
Nerd.
I ran on the treadmill every day for like 60 minutes. And then I would go downstairs and do like at Move. And I would go downstairs and I would lift really light weights. And then I would leave. And I would burn as many calories as possible on my freaking Apple Watch.
I'm telling you,
Bust
that
out.
right there, the calorie, and I'm gonna I'm gonna use this as a clip to share for this podcast. It might be a minute, might not be, right? The biggest lie that people are buying into when it comes to improving their health fitness, that stupid freaking calorie burning in one workout watch. That is so misguided.
I
It
know.
is so short-lived.
I know.
It turns into the same people are like, I burned 600 calories. I can eat a little bit more today. No, that is the biggest scam con about weight loss I am seeing right now is the ego driven push of people sharing, I lost 800 calories today in my boot camp class. Well, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Two, it is short lived on the effects of lifting weights, your insulin resistance, your muscle building, what it does to you hormonally over time. That one workout doesn't mean jack, right?
Hmm.
I can do 1,000 things to supposedly burn all these calories. You're not burning those calories. They're like 30 to 90% off according to the studies.
Yeah.
Two, it's totally misguided on the effects of working out for the purpose of building muscle and changing your body composition. I have never in my life tracked how many calories I burned in a workout or in a day from exercise in my life.
Yeah. Which is great.
And it is the biggest lie, but I'll still have people be like, oh my gosh, I did this cardio, I burnt 400 calories. And I'm
That's
like, well,
what I
what's
had
that
to
mean to
tell.
you? Well, I'm in a
Oh,
deficit. No, like
no.
long term, right? The effects of it, you're not going to get to where you want to be. That is the
Exactly.
last thing you need to measure.
Yeah.
That is
So
the
like
last most measurable thing.
any of my clients that tell me, they'll like ask me, do you want me to track my exercise calories in my fitness pal or on my watch? And I literally tell them on the phone or wherever we're meeting, I'm like, I don't give a shit how many exercise calories you burn.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
I really don't. No,
Don't care.
I don't.
Don't care.
I
I
don't.
want you to move, but I don't give a shit how many you burn.
I would love to see how many calories it says I burn in the 45 minutes today. I did like upper body back stuff with some shoulder work and arm
Yeah,
stuff today.
probably 200.
Maybe.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's
Maybe.
like people get so butthurt if it's like less than 500. And I track mine. I just like to look at it because
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. But like I also have a very good head on my shoulders that I know it's not 100% correct. And I just
Yeah.
again, like I
And
look at
no,
it
in the
like
long term of
data
things, that means nothing.
doesn't mean
It means
anything, but
absolutely zero.
zero. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I'm gonna say this. I'll say this and I'll put this out. Um, I think for a lot of people, tracking your steps and walking is is important. I
Mhm.
track my steps daily. I go for walks daily. It doesn't really drive my life, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's
Yeah.
very important.
Mhm.
I do believe that the insulin resistance for it helps with insulin resistance for post meal to go for a 10-minute
Yep.
walk.
Yep.
I think that's very important. Um, but I don't think the 10,000 walking steps is exercise. I don't think it's as
Um,
impactful in the
okay.
long run. I don't.
Okay. It's more, okay, I think two answers to that.
Okay.
If it's a dedicated walk where you've put aside the time to go outside, walk for 30 minutes to an hour, I believe that's exercise. However, it doesn't really compare to getting into the gym, obviously. Answer number two, even though you may not consider that exercise, for some people, getting that 10K in is still drastically improving their
Okay.
overall movement.
I'll go for
Right.
that. I'll go for
Right.
that.
So like I have a couple clients that are teachers and they all like, they try to get their workouts in 2 or 3 days a week. Perfect. There are other days they're like, I'm moving around constantly. So they're still burning because they're neat, right? It's their neat.
Mm-hmm.
They're still burning a good amount of calories, paying attention to the fact that they're getting at least 8,000 steps every day. Right. Versus
If
like,
somebody,
if
if
you're only getting
somebody,
2,000.
so we talk about, Atomic Habits talks about not just walking, but not just exercising, but becoming a person who exercises, right?
Correct.
Changing your identity.
Correct.
Don't just, don't just stop drinking alcohol, become a person who doesn't drink, right?
Right. Right.
Changing your identity. If somebody for 6 months came to you and said, I do a 30-minute walk every day, would you say you are a person who exercises?
Yes, because exercise is different for everybody. However, like if they
You
came to me
expect a
and
net
said,
positive from that would be what?
I mean, I would say if you were somebody that came from a place of not exercising at all, and suddenly you're then exercising 210 minutes per week because you have a 30-minute walk every day, that's pretty substantial from 0 to 210, right? But I would
What?
say, like, what's your end game? If you want
Mhm.
to drop body fat and gain muscle, that's not going to cut it,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. So it's on a spectrum.
Yeah, for sure.
One
Because
of the
I mean,
things that I've used walking when I've had people like, I'm going to do a 40-minute walk a day. You know what I've
yeah.
used that for? To prove to themselves that they have 40 minutes to do exercise.
Well, exactly right.
Right.
Exactly right. And
So
I
after
have to
like two
remind
weeks of
people of
doing
that
that, I'm like,
too.
okay, now you're going to take that 40 minutes
Yeah.
and you're going to plug it into your day to do some resistance training around your home with the stuff you have.
So I kind of categorize exercise into two places. And I say my weightlifting, my time in the gym, that's my job. That's my responsibility to myself. That is my exercise that is thinking of myself in 50 years when I need to pick stuff up and be independent, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
me too. I look at it that way too. Yeah.
My fun cardio and my fun classes and my walks outside, that is my space to escape. That is my exercise where I'm like, I don't have to think very much about it. I just go and do it. I go have fun with it. That's my fun. So like that's how I kind of split into two. And I just remind clients all the time, you have to be responsible for your body, but I also want you to be responsible like for your mind and for your fun. And if some days that walk or that hike or that swim feels better than lifting weights, I would so much rather you go and do that than sit at home on your ass.
I think that's the rising of pickleball. I think that's what it's done for
Love
people.
pickleball.
Yeah,
Love
yeah, I've never played.
pickleball. It's
Never
so
played.
fun.
Never played,
It's so
never will. I
fun.
probably never golf either. Right. It's one of the I kind of put it in the plug thing. But I know a lot of people I've seen them get really excited to play pickleball and they talk about it. And I'm like, wow, that's really good exercise.
Mm-hmm.
and it's better than sitting at home. It's a way people connect and spend time. I like the little resurgence of pickleball. I've never played, right?
It's really fun.
I've always said I won't do a physical activity that could get me hurt that doesn't involve fighting somebody else. That's what I've always said.
Right.
I'm just like, I will not go, because someone's like, well, go play pickleball. It's like, what if I got hurt? Then I couldn't do jiu-jitsu. Like, I couldn't do jiu-jitsu if I got hurt. I'm not going
You
to
really
risk
think you're
it.
going to get hit playing pickleball?
Yes, I have this deep dysfunctional fear of tearing my Achilles because I
Okay.
know people have torn their Achilles. I am convinced at some point if I do anything on a court, I will tear my Achilles. Listen, y'all, I'm not telling you I'm rational. Okay. I'm just telling you this is
That is
how
so silly.
this is how this brain works. Anything that involves intense physical activity that does not involve fight or flight, survival, physical battle of another human being, I will not risk getting hurt doing it.
That's you thing.
Yeah, it is, and that's okay. It is a me thing.
Yeah.
I could listen. I've had neck surgery. I've had an arm put back together surgically. I've dislocated fingers, pulled multiple muscles. I have multiple things happen from injuries, and they're like, "What happened?" I said, "Fighting another human being,"
Hmm.
and I'm okay with it
Yeah.
because I would be so disappointed if I went out like, "Let's play pickleball." I'm gonna go with a friend, play pickleball. If I got hurt doing that, couldn't do jujitsu, I'm telling you, call a therapist.
That makes sense.
Call,
That makes sense.
get me out of bed because it would be dark, dark, dark days.
I'm just like so the opposite where I want to do everything.
Mm, no,
If
I'm
I could
very,
fill my day with 8 hours of exercise and not implode, I would do it and just have a different
so
exercise
that'd be a
every
walk,
hour.
some pickleball, lifting,
Hiking, swimming,
swifting.
paddleboarding. If I could do it every day, all day, I would do it.
I'd play ping pong.
It's the same thing as pickleball. There's just a table.
No, way less movement.
So you think,
Way less movement.
but
Yeah, that's where I'm at with well, I just and to get back to what we're talking, I think exercise is on a spectrum.
mhm,
And for some people, walking 10,000, listen, getting 10,000 steps in a day is hard.
it is hard.
But if people really, really, really are telling me they want to move the needle, we got to go beyond walking.
Have to,
Hmm.
100%. But also remember that, if you're outside of your plan one day, walking is something that's great to fall back on. Because
Yeah.
I have those days all the time where I'm just like, I don't have the mental stamina or the physical stamina right now to get into the gym. So my walk is like my fallback. That's
I
always my
think
fallback.
I think if people really, really, really want to move the needle, you
Hmm.
also have to track your food. Just like I think if you really, really, really want to financially move the needle, you need to track your income.
Hmm.
It is the same for me. They're
It's the
budgets and
exact
you stay
same.
within the budgets.
Hmm.
And if you really want to move the needle and save more and spend less, then you have to track your budget. If you want to exercise more and lose weight, you have to track your food budget,
Hmm.
right? People say, well, do I have to? No. I mean, if you're losing a couple of pounds a week and you haven't tracked your food, keep going. Like
Right.
you're doing, but ultimately some sort of tracking and of a calorie intake and your protein intake, right?
Hmm.
I tell some people not to track because I don't think they're ready for it. Hey, track your
Yeah.
protein intake,
Hmm.
track your breakfast intake, right? I will start there, but ultimately when somebody's really serious, it's time to track. Oh, that's takes so much time and so monotonous. That doesn't
Hmm.
work for me anymore, right?
Yeah. No, me
Yeah,
neither.
that
Me
doesn't
neither.
work for me. I think that's an excuse.
Because if you have your time to go outside for a 30-minute walk, you can track your food while you walk.
It's not miserable, right?
No, it's not.
Um, episode 17. You know, I have people say that they like these ones that are just normal conversations between me and you sometimes.
I think it's a nice, it's nice. We just kind
Yeah,
of get to go off script a little bit. I don't think we reached
yeah.
half of the stuff we were going to talk about today,
We
but that's
didn't.
fine.
We didn't. Um, find us online, find us on our YouTube page. I'm gonna start having people
Mhm.
subscribe to our YouTube because that's where we put our podcast. Um, YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Apple. You can
Yeah,
find us on all of those areas for the podcast. Um, we've got a lot of great things lining up. I'm very excited about. We all have a little bit of a change in August. I think everybody has a change in August,
100%. Yeah.
right? If you have kids, you're going back to school.
Mhm.
If you don't have kids, somebody that involves in your life has kids and their schedule is changing, therefore your schedule is changing,
Yeah.
right? I feel like there's a change in the weather
Yeah.
coming. Did you feel cool and brisk
Oh
up
my
there?
God, it feels amazing.
Yeah, wasn't it awesome? I keep,
Yeah.
of course, I'm that, you're gonna be like, you would think this way. Every time I feel this weather in August, I'm like, it's gonna pay for those 1,505-degree days we're gonna have in September.
Oh, heck yeah.
I never can just enjoy that moment of being
I
cool.
know.
I'm like, we'll pay for
Mhm.
this one. Doggone it.
It's like snow days.
I need to change that. I can't wait for the 105 to pay us back for this one.
I know.
God, I need to change that mindset in
It's
my
okay.
in
We'll
my
work on it, right?
mindset.
We'll work on the culture.
Yeah,
But
we'll
yeah,
work on the
maybe we call
culture.
this part one
You
because
call
I
it what you
think
want.
there's other things we got to dive into, but I know we're on a
Yeah.
time crunch.
Yes, yes. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
With all due respect.